Wow, that was quite a debate last night. We'll have to say that Trump did it in true Trump fashion. The actual winner is hard to know. I've heard some people think it's kind of an effective draw because, it was a lot of clamoring on both sides and there's a lot of insults from Biden. And Trump was very aggressive and talking over Biden all the time on the other side. And I guess there's some thought that he started that. I don't know if he finished it. So currently, I guess it's sort of a draw. Actually, often debates are won or lost in the spin that occurs after the debate, and I would definitely encourage the Republicans to get on with it. Of course, their trouble is always they have a little trouble doing it right sometimes. But there is a Telemundo poll which showed, the Insta poll that showed that Trump was up 32% among Latinos. I don't know how much credit to give to that. Polls are always kind of up and down. And of course, there's no real poll that's been out yet that was taken after debate, so it'll take a few days to get those to see what the impact is. It's hard for me to judge this because Trump just has a style that's so different from anything I could imagine doing myself, obviously, that it's kind of hard to compare. I mean, because the main thing is Trump did get in a lot of good points. He did get Biden to break with Bernie on the Green New Deal and say he doesn't necessarily agree with it. He got him to make stupid comments like Antifa isn't an organization, and of course it is. And there are other things of that sort and he wouldn't name what judges he'd be interested in appointing, nor would he forswear or make a comment on is he willing to end the filibuster and then pack the court. And along with that goes pass all kinds of laws with a simple majority vote that'll change the country. But apparently that didn't get brought up too much, but it needs to be. It needs to be emphasized in every Senate race that's out there that's competitive. That's kind of my view on that. I think this shows to a great degree that Trump did prepare for this, basically with the way he dealt with the media and his various press conferences, and tried and basically used Joe Biden and Chris Wallace somewhat in the way that he deals with the media. Wouldn't be the way I'd approach it, but because one of the downsides of what he did is that there was so much crosstalk that it's unclear to me that everybody got his points through. And of course, these debates are often referred to as parallel press conferences. And so the one thing that Trump could hope to do on here would be to reach a wider audience than he gets on conservative news networks like Fox and One America News and Newsmax, etc., and reach out and actually get coverage on the other networks so people will see for themselves what he's saying. And remember, the people in those other networks are people that are not inclined to support him for the most part. So what I would have recommended, obviously he doesn't take my recommendations, but it would have been to have taken a little bit more of a moderate tone in order to try to appeal to some of those wayward people in the Republican Party and some independents that they really need to vote for him. The other thing he did is by engaging Biden so intensely, he didn't let Biden fall asleep very much. In other words, if Biden was allowed to talk a little bit more and finish his thoughts, we might find out how incoherent they really were. But since he never finished his thoughts, and then Chris Wallace jumped in, it sort of kept saving Biden from the faux pas he might have made if he's allowed to shoot his mouth off a little bit more. I mean, Trump was very sensitive in this thing. Maybe he saw some adverse polling or something right before the debate or something that put him on edge or something. The other thought was he was trying to rattle Biden and get him to mess up. But in reality, Biden, I think, messes up the most when he kind of falls asleep, if you will, or gets into kind of a neutral zone. If you get him fully awake, he probably, at any rate, he didn't say anything truly irrational. I mean, he did say a lot of lies, of course, as they usually do. And of course, the leftist media, with a guy like Wallace, always picks up on anything that Trump says it's questionable, but rarely picks up on too much on what Biden says it's questionable. But again, by continually engaging Wallace as much as Trump did, it had the effect of putting Wallace more on Biden's side than he would be naturally. That's not to say he isn't on Biden's side anyhow, but I'm saying that it only emphasized that effect. Of course, the really ridiculous part of the whole thing, which I find ridiculous, obviously offends Trump, is this whole white supremacy thing. And let's be blunt. There is no white supremacy in the United States, period. It died at the end of sometime in the 1960s with the civil rights movement, the passage of the end of the poll tax, affirmative action, and so forth, and the Civil Rights Act. I mean, there just isn't any structural white supremacy in this country. It's the biggest lie the left keeps putting out as a weapon, and it seems like nobody's prepared to directly address it. It's complete nonsense. If there's any racial preferencing going on, it's obviously for non-whites. Now, one can debate whether that's a good idea or not a good idea, but it's an objective fact. Okay, that is where it is. Now, maybe it's necessary in order to keep a harmonious society and to advance people, or maybe it's rank discrimination. But this is not the area where I'm going to address affirmative action and what its merits are. I'm just trying to say, but the bottom line is the white supremacy is ridiculous. Okay, yes, there's a few fringe groups out there that I don't even think most of them actually advocate a doctrine of white supremacy. I think there are some that call themselves separatists or something, but they're living in a fantasy world. There's no way they're going to get separate in a country like we're in today. And the fact is that Trump needs to more effectively address this. I mean, I think he probably will be doing so shortly. And this is just completely asinine for Chris Wallace to raise a question like that, in my opinion. As far as this Proud Boys group, I don't know much about them either. I don't think they're supremacists, though. And I don't think anybody, that's a concept that's kind of like, how many monarchists in this country? Does anybody ever renounce monarchy? I don't think as many people are advocating monarchy either. These are just obsolete ideas that don't fit in today's world. Now, so that's kind of my view on that, and I guess that got in the debate, and so it is. On the polling front, we've had a little bit of an interesting development here. The approval rating for Trump took a plunge apparently on Monday due to the Friday polling, and Trump fell from 52% approval to 46%. And Rasmussen, and then popped back up to 47, and then popped back down to 46 today. We'll see what happens tomorrow when the Friday number drops out. It could be a good day, or if the debate really went over bad, it might be a bad day. So we'll see how that goes. The other thing, their weekly poll came out with a stunning Biden ahead by 8%. He goes up to 51 from 48, and Trump falls from 46 to 43. I don't know. That's kind of wild. And of course, this is all pre-debate polling, so the debate didn't cause it. This is somewhat attributed to the appointment to Amy Barrett to the Supreme Court, and that issue, I guess that's what people are thinking it would be due to. I can't see what else would cause a movement of that magnitude, although you can have a movement of 2% or plus or minus 2%. So I guess Biden could go up to 50 and Trump could go down to 44 from the previous week, simply based on sampling variation. So we'll see how that holds up in the days ahead. He's closed up to 2% in the Harris X poll, which is kind of interesting, which I think it had him as low as 8. So it shows this polling is still kind of volatile, even though the real opinions aren't changing much. There's a core group on both sides and a group that probably numbers no more than 10% that may be in play to some degree. And at least 3% of those apparently plan to vote for one of the fringe candidates. So that's kind of where we are on this. Like I said, Trump has a unique style in the debating, and I guess true Trump supporters may or may not have liked it. I have my own attitudes on what you do in there. I would hold back when Biden was lying, and then use one of his own 2-minute segments to just refute all that in one fell swoop, rather than interrupting at every point. Let him go ahead and put out his spiel for a while, and then smack back on him would be my preference, because you don't want the thing to be so incoherent that nobody can even understand half of what's going on. Just my thought. On the other hand, if you were convinced you were unprepared for the debate and you just wanted to blow it up and hopefully get a draw by doing it, well, that's a possibility too, I guess. I would really suggest for the next debate that Trump actually has a practice sessions formally. I mean, even special forces groups that are very expert, practice their raid often before they carry out something like the bin Laden raid on a mock-up of the system, so they know every move that they might come up with. And I think the same thing is kind of true here for the for this debate. You need to have the moderator in the practice session. You need to have a left winger as the moderator who's going to try to help Biden out in the practice session, and Trump needs to get himself trained how to deal with that without totally blowing up the engagement, and including maybe directly calling out the moderator directly or something. Now, that might be a much more appropriate move for the next debate. Also, it'd be different, so it might throw them off on what they're planning a little bit. The other fun story is the theory that's been put out by James Woods, I guess, in some tweets, which suggests that Biden really did have some sort of a hearing apparatus where people could coach him or something during the debate. And I don't know. And they posted pictures, which seems to show some devices, and I don't think we can see the left side of his ear. We do see his right side in one picture that I've seen. So it is possible, although I'm not claiming it. But here's my thought: if the Trump people really thought that was what was being done, if they could figure out what frequency this thing would be transmitted on, they could have brought somebody into the debate into the audience somewhere with a jammer or something of that sort to put high-pitched whistle sounds in his ears occasionally and things like that to make him really act up weird on stage. Or else he'd have to pull out his earplug if he really was doing that. And if he wasn't doing it, I guess nobody would even know that this was happening. So that's just a wild idea I come up with, if they really believe it's real, which I don't rule it in and I don't rule it out. Anything goes in this nonsense. So that's kind of what I think about it. We'll see what the results are. And as the saying was at the very beginning, let Trump be Trump, I guess. I mean, he will be. And we'll see how that goes. I'm dubious that he is going to take my advice, because he never was going to even hear it, I'm sure. But anyhow, but that's kind of what I think about that subject for now, and I'll post this and get it out for everybody. Until next time, like and subscribe, and we'll see what happens. Forward it to anybody that might want to hear it.